This is the Steve Shriver Podcast, where entrepreneur, adventurer, and community activist Steve Shriver shares what he's learned on his journey so you can make it in business and make it good. The big topic for this episode.
I was thinking, Jeff Foxworthy does this thing that you might be a redneck.
You might be a redneck, Jeff.
Yes. And I'm going to do, you might be an entrepreneur. Maybe one of these will resonate with somebody and it will help you get through that day, that challenge. Or you know what? You can just have a good laugh.
The Steve Shriver Podcast is brought to you by Ecolips, the original organic lip balm. Use the promo code podcast20 for 20% off your first order on ecolips.com. Ecolips, all natural organic lip balm. Deeply connected with nature, applying beneficial organic ingredients to better people's lives. A proud certified B Corp, founded in 2003. Ecolips, spread the good. And spread the promo code podcast20 into that promo code box. It's good for 20% off your first order on ecolips.com.
Hey. Welcome to the Steve Shriver Podcast. I'm Steve Shriver, and I am so stoked to be here bringing the gospel of entrepreneurship to you. I'm with Joe Coffee, my friend and producer.
Hey.
Coffee Grande Studios.
Yes.
Got a good cup of Joe right here.
It's strong today, isn't it?
What?
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I'm so excited now.
That's how
now
we
that I
do
got
it.
this coffee.
Sweet.
Yeah. And we are sponsored by Ecolips. Thank you, Ecolips.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Today is a special day. We're not going to do our regular thing. We're not going to do the draw out of the hat, get a topic and go. And I just threw this on Joe and we're going to riff here. So
Let's do it.
A few years back, I had to speak at a gathering, and I get so nervous about public speaking, and I'm like, man, I can't do it. I'm not going to do a speech. I need to do something different. I'm my own, so I'm an entrepreneur. I can do whatever the F I want, man. And so I was thinking, Jeff Foxworthy does this thing that you might be a redneck.
You might be a redneck, Jeff.
Yes. And so I thought I would go to this business event. I can't remember what it was, and I was like, and I'm going to do, you might be an entrepreneur.
That's great.
And I don't think they've ever asked me back, but I'm going to share this with you. And this is, part of the deal, right? It's like some of these, we don't need to overanalyze, but we can unpack some of them.
Okay.
But the reality is, man, entrepreneurship it has its ups and downs, its ebbs and flows. There's no right way. There's no playbook. And so maybe one of these will resonate with somebody and it will help you get through that day, that challenge. Or you know what? You can just have a good laugh, and this will be an abbreviated podcast that maybe nobody will ever listen to. And, we'll go from there.
So as an entrepreneur, as you live your life and go through the Steve Shriver experience, you jot these things down in your phone
right.
when you come across them.
Yeah.
So you have a list of these things.
Yeah.
This is gonna
how
be
many lists
great.
do you have on your phone, dude? See?
I am a verbal pack rat. I collect fun words, cool words, business ideas. Well, you do too. I mean, it's so handy instead of the old notebook.
Yeah. Totally.
Your notebook is full of these.
Absolutely. So now I've got multiple, and so I've combined a few of them together, and we're just going to start. Okay.
Okay. Hit it.
Okay. If you've been rich and broke at the same time, you might be an entrepreneur.
That's the way it works. People think you're riding high, but you're borrowing money to make these business things happen.
Yeah.
That's good.
You can be rich and broke at the same time. If you run millions of dollars through a bank and they still consider you a liability, you might be an entrepreneur.
Are you speaking from experience there?
I mean, duh.
It's an entrepreneur thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know what?
This is great.
You got to stay hungry. You got to keep those bankers thinking, questioning what you're doing. If you've had a bad case of idea-rhea, you might be an entrepreneur. Do you know what I'm saying?
I've been in product generation, idea generation meetings where something great comes out of it, but we had to go through 20 really bad ideas and it was fun and funny. But
Right.
I mean, you've had great business product ideas, business ideas,
Right.
but you've had some clunkers.
Yep. Yeah. But sometimes you just
Jim told me about one the other day. I'm not going to bring it up because it still might. I hear it might resurface.
Oh yeah. See, I don't think, but a clunker can only be a clunker if it's already made its way down the road. Like if you don't even get a chance to market and launch something, then how can you call it a clunker?
True that.
Okay. Anyway,
what else you got?
If you're an atheist and you have prayed for the success of your business, you might be an entrepreneur.
That's good.
If you have a high net worth and zero available cash, you might be an entrepreneur.
I sense a theme here.
Yeah, I'm kind of saying that one a few different ways. Yeah. All right. If your parents ever asked when you're going to get a real job, you might be an entrepreneur.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Man, that one's brutal.
I'm going to skip a couple here. If you ever thought job security seems so insecure, you might be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah. If real life feels like a game of Monopoly, you might be an entrepreneur. I
like
loved
that.
Monopoly growing up, man. I loved Monopoly.
All right. What's your strategy? What do you go for?
I buy everything. Everything I land on.
But do you kind of typically, as you typically win a game, I assume, do you kind of always go for the oranges or the light blues or the railroads? Like, do you have a thing? You're saying everything.
Everything I can invest in, I get my hands on. I get a little bit of equity going. Might be a little tiny house, but eventually it'll be a big hotel.
Nice.
Look out.
Okay.
If you wish you had more property to leverage with the bank to borrow against, you might be an entrepreneur. Some of these are a little clunky. I got to work on some of the delivery. I'm not Jeff Foxworthy.
No. These are good. I'm sure for every one of these, our listener out there, our listeners, we might have a couple. I bet these are hitting home. This is Steve Shriver, the Entrepreneur Speaks. Keep it going. Here we go.
If you've ever hoped of owning something that you could someday be the absentee owner of, you might be an entrepreneur. You get it?
Yeah.
I'm going to own that so I don't have to go there. Like, what a weird concept. But yeah. If you thrive on putting everything on the line, you might be an entrepreneur.
Hey, go back to that last one for a second. Yeah. Tell me this. Is it an entrepreneur thing? Do you see businesses or come across ideas or even a pitch on Shark Tank or whatever, and you get jealous because you're like, oh, that's so good. I wish I would have thought it, but they beat me to it. Is that a thing for you?
I think it used to be more than it is now. I don't really think that way. No, I don't. Is that common? Do you think that way?
I do.
Okay.
I do. When I see like, or I see an article, I'm a writer. If somebody wrote an article based on this nugget of an idea I had, but I never fleshed out and wrote and put out myself, I'm like, Argh!
Right.
Yeah.
See, I'm still burnt out from like the business, like I don't really need another idea, dude. I mean, I'm just saying like, it's like, I'm happy that people have their ideas. I got too many of them to follow through with anymore. And the work is, I always say like the idea is a 4-letter word because the work comes in the actual execution of it, but yeah.
People I know who work around idea generation, entrepreneurs included, who just do a lot of, work around creating new things. They always say the same thing, like, oh, great ideas.
Right.
Those are easy.
Right.
They're everywhere. Everybody has a bunch. It's actually doing them that makes the difference. You've come across that, right? You probably believe that.
Yeah, totally. So that's where I'm like, I'd rather have like a mediocre idea and great execution than a great idea with zero execution. Right. So that's the story of my life. Right. Okay, here we go. If you have an uncontrollable drive to ideate, create, and grow, you might be an entrepreneur. If you know the difference between working in your business and working on your business, you might be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. You know the difference?
Some truth in that. Right?
Yeah.
It's elbow grease, actually doing it.
Yeah. And I think when you practice enough and you understand that you're going to actually take time. It's Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, talks about this a lot, working in it versus on it. You can be the plumber, the technician, and being in there and turning the screwdriver, or you can step back and work on the high level business strategy and your long-term goals. And so most successful entrepreneurs graduate to the point where they are working on it full time rather than in it, and you hire other people to work in it.
Is that hard for some, the people who like to roll up their sleeves and, when there are other bigger things they need to be doing?
Yeah. And I think that's what really challenges most startups and entrepreneurs for scale. It's really hard to scale something if you need to be the one doing it all the time. Mm. You need to be able to step out. And yeah, that makes me think we'll cover this. We're going to go deeper into that, like how to work yourself out of a job. I love that.
Mm. All right, keep going.
Okay. If the top line is 10 times more exciting to you than the bottom line, you might be an entrepreneur.
Unpack that.
Okay. So most startups, most entrepreneurs are all about building the top line, building sales, getting it out there. And the majority of startups are less concerned about the bottom line, meaning the profit. And even though I talk about like it took me a long time to understand how important that profit piece is, without the top line, you have no bottom line. So when we as startups, as entrepreneurs, need to be focusing on the top line all the time. And so like getting that next sale, getting that next distribution strategy in place, whatever it is, like getting out there.
Good stuff.
Top line's pretty exciting, but what's really exciting is when you start making money too, down at the bottom line. If your balance sheet is crazy out of balance, you might be an entrepreneur. If you see opportunity everywhere you look, you might be an entrepreneur. If you've ever wanted to be more in debt than you are now, thanks Andy for that one. You might be an entrepreneur. That's seriously a great one. Like, man, I can't wait to take out my next big loan. Yeah. If you see a problem and think you can start a business from it, you might be an entrepreneur.
I like that.
Yeah.
A lot. Aren't a lot of good products based off solving people's problems in businesses in general?
Yeah. Yeah. And having, creating a solution, right?
That's even a joke on Shark Tank when they get to the line, if only there was a better way. They kind of say it mockingly, but it's true.
And the worst one is when somebody comes on Shark Tank and they're trying to sell something that there's not a problem for.
Yeah.
Like when you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You got to go back to the drawing board. If you have ever said fail forward, you might be an entrepreneur. Let's see. I've got just a couple more here. If you have weekly beers with your banker, you might be an entrepreneur. When your spouse doesn't know how to describe your job, you might be an entrepreneur. Here's one. I think you'll like this one, Joe. If you've spent more on .coms than you've ever made on .coms, if you bought more .coms than you've ever made from income from a website, I love that. If you seek out an ROI in everything you purchase, you might be an entrepreneur. If AR and AP dictates your mood, you might be an entrepreneur. And if you don't know what AR and AP is, you might not be an entrepreneur. Accounts receivable, accounts payable, and they are very real in the startup phase. Like, how much do I owe people and how much do people owe me? And comes down to cash flow. So, yeah, I think, I have two more. If you've ever been known to yell at the screen when watching Shark Tank, you might be an entrepreneur.
I like that.
And if your side hustle is your main hustle, you might be an entrepreneur.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Wow. And that last one kind of separates a lot of people like me who I have little side things, but I haven't hit them hard.
Right.
That's your living.
Right.
You are an entrepreneur.
Right.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. So going after it. But I think all of this just speaks to like this inherent weird misunderstanding and vulnerability that exists in the entrepreneurial space. You know, it's just like this really isn't funny to a lot of people that like actually the crowd that I delivered it to. There was only a third of them got it, and it's so this is the beauty of it. Yeah. Like it's because being an entrepreneur, you're living in this space when you might not have any money, but you're like working on something in the future. You might be putting everything on the line. You might speaking a language that people don't understand, and you feel like an outcast a lot of times, but it is magic at the same time. And that's the glow that everybody wants. It's like that yoga glow, massage glow. And that's why entrepreneurship is so sexy now, is because, man, everybody wants to be the Elon Musk or whatever. And, you know,
this list is deeper than I realized now that you're talking about it that way. Like there are dabblers who will chuckle at a couple of those, but there are things on that list that would scare the crap out of some people.
Right. Like taking on more debt.
Yeah.
I mean,
but in your universe, that's the inside baseball. You get used to it, and at some point you can laugh about it on a list like this. Yeah. That's the real deal.
And one of my favorites is actually like if job security, what I say about job security, if you ever thought job security seemed so insecure, and it's like, man, because jobs, you know, like entrepreneurship is a way to control your destiny. Having a job is a way to have somebody else control it. And although I love creating jobs and I love all of our employees and everything that comes with it, there is a certain lack of control that you have over your destiny if you work for somebody else. And I'm not the guy that's going to be like, you should go start a business. You should be an entrepreneur, because you need to be committed. You need to make that decision for yourself. But just know that like there's a certain level of insecurity in what you're doing if you're working for somebody else too.
So I love our normal episodes when you pull something from the hat and we unpack it for 30 minutes. But this reminds me like back in the day in the 70s and 80s when you'd watch your favorite after school or special or even a sitcom, and then they would advertise a very special episode.
Yeah, this is it. Yes.
This is it.
Yes. Yeah. You might be an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Good stuff, Steve. We should put this on the Facebook page. Maybe folks out there would want to add to it.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Let's do that.
Good stuff, Steve.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on the special episode of Steve Shriver Podcast. And thanks for having fun with us. Follow us wherever you see us, Facebook, YouTube, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
The Steve Shriver Podcast is brought to you by Ecolips, the original lip balm. Use the promo code podcast20 for 20% off your first order at ecolips.com. Keep up with the show at steveshriverpodcast.com and the Steve Shriver Podcast on Facebook.